Did you know that back in the day, suicide victims were actually buried at crossroads with stakes through their hearts? Why in the world would they do that? Suicide in England was once considered a heinous crime, and the punishment was extended even after death, as strangely as that sounds. To the English, suicide was considered self-murders, and the perpetrators of unsuccessful suicides were actually charged with felons. The property of a suicide victim would be confiscated by the Crown of England. The English enforced these laws to combat suicides, but also because they feared them. They believed that a suicide victim could actually come back and haunt those who were still living. In order to prevent the suicide victims' spirits roaming the town, it was ordered that all suicide victims must be buried at crossroads. It was believed that being buried in such a manner would confuse the soul and their ability to find their way back home. And in even some cases, they would actually stab a stake through the suicide victims' hearts. In the Middle Ages, death abroad caused a big problem because those of high rank wanted to be buried at home as opposed to being, buried overseas. Attempts to preserve these bodies included doctors, monks, and butchers actually taking the innards out of their bodies and burying them locally. The rest of their body was either soaked in vinegar or in salt, and from there they would put the body in animal hinds and transfer it back home. So if their embalming techniques weren't successful, they were forced to smell a horrible corpse's dead body all the way back home, and I'm sure that was not a pleasant smell. In response to the failures of embalming techniques, another form of preservation was developed. This involved them cutting up the corpses into manageable little sizes and then boiling their flesh off. So this boiling process separated the flesh from the bone, all right? And the bones were actually sent back to the homelands of that particular person. That's a strange way of embalming people. Let's cut them up, throw them in a pot of boiling water, and separate their flesh from their bones. Tell us what you think about today's two stories in the comments section below. Thank you guys for watching. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and we'll see you next time on a brand new Wicked Tales episode.